Good evening.
Good evening, Father.
Would you like to share a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself to the congregation?
Sure. Obviously, I'm BARB Griffith. I have been married for over 32 years to this wonderful man down here. Love of my life. College sweetheart. I feel really, I thank God every day to be sharing this faith journey with him. We have 5 children. 3 of them were fortunate enough to attend St. Alphonsus School, and then our youngest, John, is there as well. John has grown up in this parish. He was baptized right here by Father Tom Burke, who many of you know. He has adopted several grandmothers, and I see a few of you out there, and we're really thankful for you in his life and our lives. We also have 3 grandchildren, and 2 of them were baptized here as well. So, I've worked over the years in the field of education. Right now, I work in special needs and learning support classrooms, and I'm a middle school field hockey coach. And at St. Alphonsus, I was on the original parish council, and then the very first pastoral council. I volunteer in different capacities. I've been a member of the Women's Guild since we moved here, but what I really enjoy doing every year is the annual Christmas gift drive for the St. Vincent Mission in Kentucky, and I also help organize a monthly dinner that we take to Bethlehem Haven, a women's shelter in downtown Pittsburgh. So, we've been here for 17 years, and that's more than half of our married life, and St. Alphonsus is really very special to us.
So out of all that you said, a field hockey coach?
Yes.
Wow. You're right.
Big job.
Now, I love this reading today. It's one of my favorite gospel readings. And it only comes out once every 3 years for Easter time. I love this journey to Emmaus with disciples and everything. But you helped me to see from a little different perspective on this. What was your take? What struck you about this reading?
Well, what struck me was early in the gospel, reading when they were talking about how the disciples were conversing and debating. And in doing so, their eyes prevented them from seeing Jesus Christ. And a couple of things struck me about that. The first being, I think that just describes our American culture. I think we're so caught up in the rat race and the things of this world. We're always overscheduling ourselves and our children. We're always on our phones. We're always on the computer. We never unplug. We even drive with our phones. And we just don't take the time to really be still and be at peace and be quiet with Jesus Christ and listen to how he wants us to live our lives and to follow his path. So that was the initial.
And the disciples had their idea of how it should have gone.
Yes, and that was the second thing that Father and I talked about. I think oftentimes we don't understand what's happening in our lives. We don't, and we want to converse and debate a little bit, talk to God. What's happening? Why are these things happening in my life? This is not what I had planned for myself. Father and I had a good chuckle. I mentioned the saying, that many of you have heard, that God has a sense of humor. And if you want to make him laugh, go ahead and make plans. And I thought it was Mother Teresa that had this pearl of wisdom, but Father, do you want to share who it was?
Woody Allen. I wasn't even close. No way in my wildest imagination Woody Allen. I mean, I had somebody who just figured too. But yeah, so we got a good laugh.
Yes, we had a good laugh. Yeah, so we were off. But that was the other thing, I think, that in my life, I know I've certainly had times where I didn't understand and I didn't trust. I didn't trust in God and what he had planned for me. And I wanted to fight the suffering. None of us want to face the suffering, but we really are called to embrace the suffering in our lives, and we really grow through that.
Well, like the disciples in the gospel, Jesus didn't take their suffering away from them.
Right.
I think he used the word, he didn't rob them of their suffering. You know, he allowed them to suffer. I mean, he could have said, ta-da, here I am, but he didn't.
Right.
He helped them to understand.
And I think we need to be more patient. You know, I had a few experiences when we first moved to Pittsburgh. My husband was getting out of the military. I loved being a military family. It was challenging, but I thought it was great for my kids. I liked being part of a bigger mission. And we were coming here, and we were going to move into the civilian world. And I didn't really know what that meant, but I didn't want to know. And God, you know, he had such wonderful plans for us here, and we've been so blessed. And it made me mad at myself that I was not more patient and didn't trust in him.
Now, there were some transitions in your life with some suffering, but you ended up finding the presence of Christ, didn't you?
Well, that certainly, but when I first went off to college, I grew up in this small, cozy little town in upstate New York. Never moved, had a wonderful, loving family, and went to an average high school, was the kind of the big fish in a little pond, and then went off to this very difficult college where I was no longer the big fish, and really struggled, but I came very close to God. You know, I think it's a shame sometimes that we look to him when we're struggling, not always at first in the good times, but that was the beginning of my relationship with Jesus Christ. I'm very thankful for that. And once again, 4 years later, couldn't have had a better experience and met my future husband, and so thankful.
And then one of the transitions that was very difficult for you was here. There were a lot of things going on in your life, and you found that you were going to have another child.
Yes, well, I wanted to share a secret, and maybe many of you already know this, but yes, we were going through some difficult times. Our kids were really struggling with health issues, and then I was pregnant with wonderful John, and I spent a lot of time in the balcony on my knees, and if you go up there when the lights are on, you want to talk, we're talking here about the presence of Christ, and you have Christ behind you, and reflected in the glass in front of you is Jesus Christ. And it is an incredibly powerful experience, whether you're struggling with things or just want to thank God. Just go up there. It's really, really powerful. So I do want to share that.
Yeah. Transitions in our lives are always times that send us to our knees. The transition to college, the transition coming back here, the transition of health issues in families, all of that makes it extremely, extremely difficult. And then through all of that, you're tying here to the parish and finding Christ here.
Well, I certainly, when we're talking about the presence of Christ and failing to recognize him in our lives, I think we also fail to see him in other people, and we fail to be Christ to other people. And I have really experienced the presence of Christ through the people of this parish. All the teachers at the school, how dedicated they are. You, Father Ed, Father Murphy, Sister Mariella, and now Mr. Reese, and just so many wonderful. I hate to even mention one because I don't want to leave anybody out, but we've been so blessed with such a wonderful congregation, so many great friends here. So I really feel that here. But I think we could do a better job of going out and being Christ to others. And I really enjoy doing the outreach here, and I love seeing what Father has done during Lent and the food collection. But I think there are more things we can do. So I'd love to see that.
Just the two things that you do are quite popular. Well, one is very popular. One I'd forgotten about until you mentioned it. I mean, the Kentucky Mission, St. Vincent Mission, at Christmas time is extremely popular. I mean, everybody is so generous in buying these gifts for the families to give to their kids. But then when you mention Bethlehem Haven, it's like, oh, you're the one that does that. I mean, it's on the website, and it happens monthly.
Right.
But you're so behind the scenes with that it's just subtle.
Like, we've tried to advertise, so if anybody's interested, please see me. Only women are allowed to go into the shelter, but we've had men cook for us, and it's been wonderful. But I do try to spread the word by mouth, if nothing else. And I have several members who've been with us since we started in 2001, and then many who joined us along the way. I think everybody is really touched by the experience they have down there.
Yeah, this is a major part of what Bishop Zubik is talking about in his recent letter from Easter Sunday, the church evangelizing, where towards the end of the letter there are the 8 building blocks of evangelization, and one is to be friendly, to be present to people, and one of the other 8 building blocks is to care for the poor. And the women who are abused and in shelters and have no one else to support them, these are part of the poor in our society, that you care for in that. And to be more welcoming, as you said, we as a parish, are somewhat welcoming. We welcome those we know, but we're not very good at welcoming the stranger. It's a sad reality of what we are, but we know that, and we can move forward with that. To be able to do this, to look at what it does mean to evangelize. That's why, after looking through the document a couple of times, I decided to have a class, not Monday night, but in 2 weeks, on the 12th and then on the 19th, to do a discussion on Bishop Zubik's document, The Church Evangelizing, where it's not going to be a teaching. I'm not going to stand there and lecture, but it's going to be a discussion of engaging what are our ideas on this. How has this impacted our lives? And what could we as a parish do about this? Because it's up to us what the parish does. It was up to BARB what the parish did for the Kentucky Mission and for Bethlehem Haven, and she stepped forward. It's up to us to welcome and to care for the poor and to do other things. How are we going to step forward? To know that Christ is listening, but in all of this, there's prayer. Another one of the building blocks. Without prayer, nothing can happen. It just becomes our ideas. And our ideas are dime nothing. They're not that important. But the inspiration from God and His love and support for us, that is great. To be concerned about the poor. In the Road to Emmaus story today, your focus was on the 2 gentlemen. And in their situation. I always like to jump the gun, and I know it's going to the breaking of the bread. So I jump ahead to that. But you pulled us back to look at the people on the journey. What are they going through? What's it like for them? So that they can encounter them. Jesus didn't take away their suffering, as you pointed out. He didn't rob them of that suffering, but He was with them in it. And with enough time that He spent with them, they came to realize that it was Him. They realized it on their own with God's grace. Jesus didn't smack them over the head. In the time He spent with them, they came to know Him. Barb, thank you so much for your witness to me.